How is everyone doing today? Welcome back to On the Ball. It is the review of the Premier League, and we'll review our results as well, our predictions, as me and Sim go head-to-head in predicting every single Premier League game. 118 to Sim, 129 to me. 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result, and the star man, once you pick that man, and we cannot pick the same man, as Sim found out last week. 5 points for a goal and 2 points for an assist. Let's see how we got on in this midweek, in the midweek clashes.
It was a record for amount of goals, I think, this season in a game week.
Really? Is that right? Wow, I didn't know that. We start off at the Vitality, 1-0 to Everton. Bournemouth lose or drop points yet again. Really good 3 points for Everton this one. We both went for Bournemouth wins. What is going on with Bournemouth at this moment in time? Madness, I know. Crazy. It only felt like a few weeks ago they were fine. They were in the top 4, top 5, top 6, wherever they were. But that just shows how volatile this league is. Yeah,
they've lost four games in the last 5. They're just dropping like a rock. I think they're running out of a bit of energy at the moment. As I've said always with Bournemouth and Iraola, they kind of go through these patches of like long stretches of form where they're really good, where they have momentum and they're on top of the opposition. And then once it gets away from them, it's hard for them to gain the momentum back sometimes. They can go through these long stretches where they're losing games. I'm sure they'll claw it back at some point. But I think maybe the amount of summer changes is starting to catch up with them a bit. I think at the beginning of the season, everyone was like praising a lot of their signings, and they look like they replaced their defenders really well. But I think it's maybe starting to catch up a bit at the moment, losing so much quality as they did in the summer. They seemed about out of sorts in this game. Everton was just a classic away performance, nothing too impressive, but stayed strong, stayed firm, and then got a little bit of luck near the end.
They got moist.
They got moist, and that's what kind of can happen when Bournemouth. I thought they were going to be unsettled, Everton, by Bournemouth style, but they weren't. They didn't let it get to them. They basically weren't overawed by the pressing, and basically just went long, bypassed the pressing, didn't allow Bournemouth to play their game. And obviously Grealish came up with that little bit of magic late on, a bit of it was a deflection, but you earn your own luck, and it's a brilliant win. Everton up to 10th as well, so they're in good form. 3 wins of the last 4. It's just mad, the wild swings. It seems like the Premier League table's like just flipped. Like beginning, it was a lot of teams were in the top half. Now they're all in the bottom, and it's so tight and so volatile that it's wild swings every week at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's just going to carry on for a while now, to be honest. Like, you just can't see, because there's no one consistent in this league apart from Arsenal, pretty much. That's the reality. So I think we're just going to keep seeing this. Is this like the most inconsistent we've seen the Premier League, like from top to bottom?
I think it's just competitive. I think it's every season. I think we saw it at parts last season as well. But then I think it was around like January, February time. It kind of evened itself out, and the gap started to appear amongst the positions. At the moment, it's still so tight. We're coming up to Christmas, and it's still watertight, basically, in the mid-table. But I do think the gaps will start to appear at some point. I don't know if it'll be like this the whole season, but it's crazy right now.
Yeah.
But I just think it's super competitive. The bottom teams invested well. They've got so much resources now, analytics, and it's hard to get those marginal gains that you used to be able to get.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Let's go to Craven Cottage. This was a mad game. Fulham 4, Man City 5. We both went for, I went for 2-1, you went for 2-0, so we both gained a point here. I mean, Man City go 3-0 up, I think, after half an hour or 35 minutes, whatever it was. They claw one back just before half-time. Man City get another 2 in the early doors of the second half, and you're thinking, all right, this game's done. Like, what's the point of watching it anymore? I remember we had it on whilst watching the Spurs game, I think it was on the same night, and at 5-1, I was just thinking, no, this game's done. There's no chance of anything, and Fulham get 1 back, 2 back, 3 back. All of a sudden, it finds itself to 5-4, and in the very last minute, a shot saved off the line as well for Fulham, so it could have very easily been 5-5. Man City, a few weeks ago, everyone's saying they're back on track. They're here to fight Arsenal for the title. They obviously lost the following week, and these last 2 games from Man City, They've got 3 points in both of them, but not convincing at all. They let a 2-goal lead slip against Leeds, ended up winning 3-2. And in this game, they're 5-1 up, and it gets back to 5-4, and it could have easily been 5-5. It's just mad.
Yeah, it's a weird one when you're looking at City, because I think in the last 2 games, when you're looking at them going forward, they've probably looked the best they've been all season. So I think in the first half against Leeds, they're so in control. Leeds had barely anything. They looked like they could open them up at every turn. They scored 2 goals, and you're thinking, wow, City looking like they're back in form. Then they ended up conceding 2 goals and had a late scramble, and you're like, okay, you're not going to win the league like that. And then this game, you're like, they're 5-1 up away at Fulham, which is not an easy place to go. I think they haven't. I don't know if they lost before this a game at home, or they maybe lost one.
They lost to us. Oh, Fulham. Yeah,
Fulham, I'm talking Fulham. And so away from home, they're a tough team to play against at home. And they're 5-1 up, so you're thinking, wow, this is a bit of a statement from Man City. They're absolutely running riot away at Craven Cottage. And Foden's purring, he's got a brace. Haaland's obviously still being the beast that he is. And you're thinking, this is a bit of a statement. Like, they're absolutely battering them. They're really laying down and calling it. But the way they let it slip, again, how can you let a 5-1 lead slip? That's unbelievable. I don't think that's ever happened in Premier League history. I know it didn't quite happen in this one, but to get to 5-4 from 5-1 is completely unacceptable. And I think Pep breathed a big sigh of relief at full time. And if Man City are looking to prove they can last the distance this season with Arsenal and really challenge them and close that gap, I don't think letting these lead slips is going to convince anyone. So I think they still clearly need to get that balance right. I don't know, they're conceding way too many chances. They're way too easy to score against at the moment. But they are outscoring teams. So if they can kind of restructure that balance a bit, they are starting to, I really think, take teams to the sword like they used to. So that's encouraging. But you can't let these leads slip. And that's, over the course of a season, that's going to cost you.
Yeah, I think a big thing for them is, in terms of outscoring teams, is the return of form to Phil Foden. He seems back to his best now. 2 goals in this game. I think he's got 2 goals in the last game as well. He is proper back on form after a pretty shocking season from him last year. But, yeah, I mean, this is happening against Fulham. I know Craven Cottage is a hard place to go, but the reality is that Fulham and Leeds are at the wrong end of the table. And they need to be putting these teams away more convincingly, in my opinion. And once they start playing the harder teams, is it going to be sustainable to keep conceding so many goals? I don't think it is. So they need to tighten up that defence, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. But at least Pep has, they're 32 goals now in 14 games, which is by far the most in the league now. They are starting to really purr going forward, so that will encourage Pep. But defensively, you can't concede 3 goals when you're 5-1 up. That's not a sign of champions whatsoever. So I think Pep, obviously, ever since he said, "Oh, this is our time," to really push Arsenal, they have not looked convincing whatsoever. So that'll worry Pep.
Yeah.
But they did win, and they're still only, look, at the end of the day, it's only 5 points.
Yeah.
And they've done it before.
Yeah,
So
and Arsenal got a very hard game going on this weekend away to Aston Villa, so you never know what can happen. Next up, we go to St James's Park. It finished 2-2 Newcastle against Tottenham. Both of us went for 3-1 to Newcastle. And it was just one of those weeks, wasn't it, where me and Sim both predict Spurs to lose, and Spurs take a point from the game. Not that we deserved much from the game, because I thought Newcastle were the better side. But what we did, it was one of those weird games where Newcastle were very unlucky not to win the game. But when you actually look at the facts of the game, and Spurs were also unlucky not to take something from the game, because we draw 2-2, we get an unbelievable overhead kick which had its own slice of luck towards the end.
I don't know if you could. I don't know, unbelievable overhead kick in terms of how shit it was.
Yeah, well,
in the back of the net.
Yeah, kind of like hit his shin and bubbled into the far post.
I've never seen an overhead kick be that bad and go in. But anyway.
It was like I said, it was a centre back's overhead kick, but the unlucky thing for Spurs was that we clawed ourselves back in the game. We managed to score 2 goals, but the Newcastle penalty should never have been given. It was never a penalty, in my opinion. And from that sense, of the refereeing decisions on the day, Spurs were a bit unlucky and maybe could have taken all 3 points.
Yeah, I think you look at it both ways. I think if you're a Newcastle fan, to be honest, I think Newcastle really only have themselves to blame, because they were that dominant for large parts, and they probably didn't create as much as they should have. I don't even think it was due to Tottenham defending that well. I just think they were so wasteful. They would win the ball half the pitch, and they wouldn't go ahead and create the chance they should have created. Tottenham, on the other hand, I think they were resolute at times, but on the ball, again, it's just really dreadful. And it's been like that for a long time now, and no signs really of improvement. But there were points in the game we were kind of coming back into it and putting Newcastle under a bit of pressure. And obviously the pressure from Newcastle told, and they got the lead, and then we equalised, and it was a bit of a mad ending to the game. But you're right, I think Tottenham can feel aggrieved because we did get a last-minute goal, and if it wasn't for that penalty, that means 3 points. Newcastle can feel aggrieved because they were largely dominant and had the game under control for large parts and let it slip in the last minute when they should have won. Probably just on the balance of play. Not to say they created tons, but on the balance of play, like, they were just really dominant. So I think maybe you could say draw, like both teams will probably just take it with what happened in the game. But I think from Tottenham's point of view, just probably more question marks than answers after that game, to be honest. As much as it was a good point and good to show fight, which is, away at Newcastle, we haven't got a point there in a long time. So I think that's obviously really positive that we clawed a draw out of an unlikely situation. But I don't think the level of performance is convincing anyone just yet. And Newcastle as well keep conceding late goals at St James's. Did it against Arsenal. Did it against Liverpool, and did it against us now.
Yeah, all 3 games that they've dropped points at St James's Park this season. But yeah, look, it wasn't the greatest performance from Spurs, and there were things that dramatically need to improve in terms of the way we attack, the way we progress the ball, and everything of that ilk. But look, at the end of the game, I was pretty content. It's Newcastle away. We lose every year there. Get battered a lot there. So we haven't even taken a point there since Eddie Howe has joined. So I look at it as a very good point for Tottenham Hotspur, but you're not going to be judged on this game and the performance. It's all on the next game against Brentford at home and see how we do there. And if we put in a poor performance, then yeah, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, that's for sure. Let's move on to Arsenal against Brentford. It finished 2-0. We both went for 2-0, so 5 pointers all round for this one. Marino, once again on the score sheet after 10 minutes, puts them 1-0 up. Saka seals the deal in the last minute, and Arsenal get a fairly convincing win against Brentford. Look, I don't think Arsenal were at their best. I don't think it was a scintillating display, but they were by far the better team. Yeah,
they deserved the win. But Brentford definitely bloodied their noses a bit.
A little bit,
They hit the bar, didn't they, at 1-0. They looked threatening from set pieces. You never really seemed worried if you're an Arsenal fan in terms of Brentford weren't opening them up, but they were just creating scenarios, throw-ins, free kicks, and you just know with Brentford if one of those moments could easily create a chance, and obviously it did with Sade. You have to say it's a brilliant save from David Raya to keep the score at 1-0. But I think Arsenal always felt like they should be comfortable in this game. Obviously, Brentford rested a lot of players, but then so did Arsenal. Is there a conversation to be had at the moment about Mikel Moreno? Because ever since he's played in that number 9...
I think that conversation's already being had.
No, not in terms of if he's good. Like, I think that conversation's been had. Is he one of the better strikers in the league?
He's a good Premier League striker, yeah, for sure.
Is he Arsenal's best striker?
On current evidence, yes.
Like, he has been phenomenal. Like, he gets regular goals. He's brilliant with the ball at his feet. He's brilliant in the air. He's got great hold-up play. He even scores for Spain. He's played that role for Spain now. He got a hat-trick on international break not so long ago. This has been an incredible transformation for him. Like, Arteta has done unbelievable to get him in playing that position and get him playing as well as he has done. No one really saw that coming when it first happened.
I saw a team lineup for when he was at Borussia Dortmund, and he was one of the 3 in a back 3. Which is madness. So back at Dortmund, he played in a back 3. He progressed up to Newcastle and Sociedad, where he was like a central midfielder. He's been brought into Arsenal as kind of a box-to-box midfielder. And now he's a striker. And I think he is a very good striker. I think he must fill Arsenal with a lot more confidence in terms of putting the ball in the back of the net, as opposed to Victor Gyökeres, who's come in as on the back of scoring like 60 goals in a season, which is crazy. But yeah, I think Marino should be their starting striker, because I think he's consistently better than him. We'll see what happens when Havertz comes back.
Yeah, I feel like he offers more than Gyökeres. He's got a better first touch. You see that moment against Spurs when he drops deep and opens Tottenham up and plays in Trossard. Can Gyökeres do that? Is Gyökeres capable of that?
Yeah, the only thing Gyökeres has on him, I think, is his movement. Apart from that, I think Marino's pretty much looked better in all aspects.
You say that. I think Marino's movement in the box has been brilliant. Like the look at the header he scored against Brentford. The movement was fantastic. Like I'm just incredibly impressed with how he's manoeuvred himself into this role, and I think Arteta needs a lot of credit, because I don't know many managers who'd be able to take a defensive midfielder and make them into a brilliant striker.
It's not often you'll get Sim to give Arteta a lot of credit.
No, but in terms of the title race, obviously standard win for Arsenal. Everyone expected it. Another clean sheet. I think the most impressive thing for Arsenal is Saka was rested, no Saliba, no Gabriel, Mourinho up front, and yet he barely even noticed.
Yeah, a few question marks. So Mosquera goes down injured, and Jurian Timber comes on and slots straight in at centre back, and like basically they've got their first choice centre back.
That's the key for them, because they've got Timber, White, Calafiori, and Hincapié, who could all play fullback and centre back equally as well, it seems.
Yeah,
and obviously Lewis Kelly, who doesn't even get a look at the moment, who plays left back. So they're just stacked in terms of defensive options.
Stacked and stocked for sure.
And what was I going to say? I had a point, I can't remember now. But anyway,
Declan Rice also.
Yeah, Declan Rice, that was it. So Declan Rice also went down. So more injury troubles, but it seems as though they seem a bit injury-proof at the moment in terms of letting it affect them this season.
Yeah. Look, I think it is a worry for them, because it seems like every game they've got someone going down with injury, and it's only so long that you can kind of cope with it if everyone starts going down with injury. But I think Declan Rice, I think he'll be touch and go for this weekend. So
actually, I think he had an interview with Sky Sports and he said he's going to be fine.
He did, but Arteta kind of like a bit of, like he did leave a bit of doubt in his press conference.
Mind games.
But regardless, look, he's going to be. It's not, if it is an injury, it's not a long-term one. It's going to be extremely short-term. And Mosquera, I think he's probably potentially going to be out for this weekend, but I don't think it's going to hurt them.
And it's 18 games unbeaten now, 12 clean sheets in that time as well. So they just keep going. They're just like very controlled, getting the job done, not letting the noise get to them. It's going well at the moment. Then again, it is only 14 games. This is not crunch time yet. So we'll see when the pressure really ramps up if they can handle it. But right now, they look unstoppable. I
think it was vital for them to be able to rest players in this game, because I felt like in the last couple of games they have looked a bit leggy and a bit tired. So the rest in this midweek for some of the players will do them the world of good, to be honest. Next up is Brighton against Aston Villa. Another crazy game. This one at Bournemouth, obviously. So Bournemouth, Brighton. So Bournemouth go 1-0 up.
Brighton
go 2-0 up, with a Pau Torres own goal and Van Hecker in the first couple of minutes. And you're thinking, all right, Villa's run is coming to a crashing end here at Brighton. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, Ollie Watkins gets a double. It's 2-2 before half-time. And Villa do the complete turnaround in the second half. Like, this Villa run is quite something, isn't it?
It's madness. Like, they just keep getting the job done by hook or by crook, even 2-0 down. I was watching this game, and Brighton, now I'm saying it, Brighton were all over them in the early parts of the game, and Emi Martinez pulled up in the warm-up. Marcus Bizot comes in and he makes a howler in the first a few minutes for Van Hecker to score, and then Hinchelwood has to come on and for their striker who went off injured, and he kind of broke the lines and got the own goal. And it looked like it was going to be a simple day for Brighton, but Villa just kept in the game. They actually kept creating chances. I think they had a goal ruled out just before Watkins scored. And then, obviously, Watkins got their first goal. They then hit the post just before Watkins got the equaliser on the stroke of half-time. So before the break, they made it 2-2 and brilliantly fought back. And then set pieces just won the day. Onana with a header. And then Marlon near the end, obviously both from free kicks. So they just kept it tight, got the goals from set pieces, and exposed this Brighton side, who we know Brighton can be quite open. As much as they play great football, they're easy on the arm. When they're on top of you, they can be hard to stop. But if you get a grip on them defensively, they are vulnerable. They're not the strongest at the back. I think Spurs, I remember we were 2-0 down and came back into it once we got a foothold in the game. And it was very similar. Once you get that foothold, physically, they're not great. And I think Villa really dominated them and bullied them. And brilliant from them. But to be fair, they nearly gave it away, though. Van Hecke got a goal late, and Welbeck had an unbelievable chance right at the end, which Bizot had to save. So it could have easily been 4-4, which, again, with Villa, they're a good team, but they do give you chances. I've noticed every game, but right now they're getting away with it, and they're on a mad run of form. It's so mad, if they beat Arsenal on Saturday, they go 3 points behind, and all of a sudden
crazy.
You're thinking, are they in a title race? I do maintain, watching them play, I don't believe this form is sustainable. But you know what? It's been going on for so long now. Who am I to say that they can't keep this up? It's incredible stuff from Aston Villa. The way they just keep winning games. But is it sustainable? They're either winning games with a long-range goal, which they have been for the last 2 games, or they're 2-0 down and coming back. So, I just can't believe the way they're playing at the moment. They're just going to keep up this winning form. But you know what? They've got momentum, and momentum is a very powerful thing in football. And if you keep it up.
4 games in the next 5. They play Arsenal twice. They played Chelsea. They played Manchester United in the next 5 games.
So, yeah, maybe it'll start to turn.
So, look, I think it's just natural. Form goes up and down throughout the season. But I think Villa will be there or thereabouts come the end of the season in terms of the European spots. And that's where they want to be.
And they got the Europa League still there. You know, if Brighton would have won, they would have gone 3rd. So it shows how tight the table is. Now they're 7th.
But Villa got Arsenal twice in the next 5 games.
2 wins, and they keep up this form. Just keep battering it from 30 yards in. You never know.
Could Aston Villa be this season's Leicester?
Yeah, well, you know what? Villa are the type of team Arsenal do you have historically over the last few years under Arteta struggled against. Emery's usually done really well against Arteta. So imagine if it just happens, of all managers to sub Arsenal winning the league, it's Unai Emery.
Well, didn't that happen a couple of years ago?
No, I'm saying if Emery's the one who wins the league.
Oh, if he wins the league.
Saying, imagine of all the managers stopping Arsenal winning the league, it's Unai. Imagine the storyline there. That would be just nuts.
I can just see the headlines on AFTV now.
Should have kept Unai. Can't believe we sacked him. That would be madness. Look, I don't think they're going to obviously be in a title race, but they're on a mad run of form. They're only a point behind Man City. So if City are in it, I think Villa fans will probably say, why can't you consider us in it?
Yeah.
But look, trust me when I say I'm looking at the way they're playing, and even the underlying data supports it. They're getting. It's just basically they're getting a mad run of form. Not lucky, but it's unsustainable. Put it that way, I would say. But who am I to say? I probably would have said the same about Leicester, and they kept it up.
Yeah, he most definitely did say the same. Yeah. Next up is Burnley against Palace. It finished 1-0 to Palace at Turf Moor. Sim went for 1-0, so he gets a big fat 5-pointer. I get 1 point for saying 2-1 to Palace. I thought Burnley had their chances in this game. They had their moments against a bit of a leggy Crystal Palace side, but got the goal through Munoz. They hung in there and got the win. I admit maybe hanging in there is a bit of a overstatement in terms of I thought Burnley just put in a slightly better display in what they've shown in recent weeks. They had a few more chances than what Palace had. But Palace got the job done.
I think it's a familiar pattern with Palace. I thought first half they were well on top, could have been more than a goal up. Although they scored in the second half, didn't they? But I thought first half they created lots of chances.
No, they scored in the first half.
Okay, first half. So I thought they created lots of chances, Crystal Palace, and they could have been more than a goal up, to be honest. And they were dominant. But again, they tired in the second half. It's a consistent theme now with Palace. They can't keep up that intensity and that energy for 90 minutes. And it's a consequence of a weak squad. Glasner playing the same team pretty much throughout the whole, every game, and throughout the whole 90 minutes as well, barely making any subs as well, it seems. So I think they're suffering a lot from that. Glasner's voices frustration with that situation, but maybe he could be doing more. Could he use more of the fringe players to alleviate the situation? Could he trust them more? At the moment, he doesn't seem to trust them. But Burnley definitely came back into the second half, and I think right at the end, Henderson made a horrible mistake, and Richards had to clear it off the line right at the end of the game, so they could have snatched a draw. But at the end of the day, it's another defeat. I can see, I don't know, it says 5 in a row, it could be more, but they're currently 19th. They're struggling to get a point. They're struggling to score a goal, Burnley. And you don't really see where the next win is coming from for them, unfortunately. They have had a few decent results, but they've definitely dried up at the moment, and Scott Parker's struggling to get there. The games are very close, but at the end of the day, they're always on the wrong side of them.
Yeah, it's true. But if the games are very close, that does suggest that in certain games and some games they might be able to take the points. And they are only 4 points away from Leeds, who are sitting in 17th. So there's a slight chance.
End of the day, the games are close, but they can't score.
Yeah.
So as long as you can't score, it doesn't matter how close the games are, because they're not keeping clean sheets in really any game, like they were last season. And if you can't score, you can't score.
Yeah.
So they need to change that. They've got 15 goals this season in 14 games. So it's basically a goal a game.
It's true, but you look at West Ham and you look at Leeds, they've only got 1 goal more than them. So there's something to fight against.
I understand that, but West Ham, they've got Bowen. You can.
Nottingham Forest have scored less.
Yeah, that's also true.
So, I mean, there are candidates there that... Look, I think Burnley will get relegated, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion at this moment in time, because I do see a few avenues in Burnley's games where they can potentially pick up some points.
I think they're doomed.
Yeah, look, I do agree. Like I said, I do think they're going down. But, a few more turns and a few more games, you never know.
I reckon come January, they're going to be at least 6 or 7 points away.
Yeah, maybe, because you do look at West Ham and Forest, and they're much more likely to get... At this moment in time, it does look like Leeds, Wolves and Burnley are going to be the ones. But Leeds...
We'll talk about Leeds
yeah,
in a minute,
exactly. Yeah. All right, let's go to Wolves then. Wolves 0, Nottingham Forest 1. We both went... Well, you went for 1-0 to Forest. I went for 1-0 to Wolves. So you get another 5-pointer here. And, yeah, I mean, I do... Look, Wolves were well and truly Deitched. Deitch coming up trumps once again, but I feel like Wolves' level of performance has improved since Rob Edwards have come in, and I think this was another example of it. But, like we were saying for Burnley, it's even more for Wolves, because they just can't put the ball in the back of the net. They haven't scored a goal since Rob Edwards have come in, even though the performances have been a little bit improved.
Is it 2 games? 3 games?
I think it's 3 games now. No goals scored. Their last goal was in October, which is crazy.
So no goal of the month competition for November.
No, maybe they have to go to the under-21s or the women's team or something.
Any own goals? Maybe you have to pick one of those.
But yeah, look, credit to Nottingham Forest, because they just keep picking up wins.
Yeah, another good win for them. And the performance was okay. Rob Edwards, after the game, said he was very angry with the Wolves' performance, especially in the first half. He said they should have had more intensity and they really struggled to get in the game. They did kind of get back into the second half, but Igor Jesus got the killer blow, and it was a nice goal. Well, a bit of a mistake from the keeper, but a good header. He had a goal ruled out in the first half as well, which from a corner, which took a long time from VAR. One of those offside, as the interfering kind of goals. I think Forest deserved the win, though. I think first half they were definitely the better side. I was watching it as well. I was watching the Sky Sports multi-view thing. And they were all over kind of Wolves for that first half, and they were unlucky not to be in the lead. But second half, it was a bit more of an even game, but Forest got the killer blow. It wasn't like a great performance from either team, but Forest had that little bit more quality on the day. And Igor Jesus, another goal for him, and he's looking like a decent player at the moment.
Yeah, he's looking okay. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Chris Wood comes back, and what happens with that situation. But how many goals has he got in the Premier League so far, Igor Jesus? That was his first Premier League goal.
In Europa League, he scored a few. He's looking decent.
Yeah. All right. Let's go on to Leeds then. Leeds 3, Chelsea 1. I went for 3-1, but I went for 3-1 to Chelsea. You went for 2-0 to Chelsea. And Chelsea, man, like, literally...
A title race, a title charge that lasted 3 days.
I know, it's madness. You go and batter Barcelona the way you did, 3-0, played them off the park. You go and play against Arsenal with 10 men for the majority of the game, and you look like the better team. And at that point, you're saying if you beat Arsenal, you're 3 points behind them, title race could be on. But then, you get a man sent off, you take a draw. You're like, all right, that was a good draw to take. We live to fight another day. Let's see what happens. Let's just keep on this form. And then the very next game, you go to Ellen Road, where Leeds can't seem to buy a win at this moment in time. And they get battered 2-0 at half-time. They get a goal just after half-time as well, and you're thinking, all right, the comeback's on. Surely Chelsea going to turn this around. And even still, they lose 3-1. I think maybe a bit too much tinkering from the manager. The 2 centre-backs, Badiashile and Tosin, they hadn't played in a while, and they kind of get thrown in. I think he just basically thought, look, we're playing Leeds away. It's probably a set 3 points here for us. And It wasn't. It wasn't at all. And, you know, Reece James on the bench, which you can understand with his injury history. But I feel like with Caicedo suspended for 3 games, you can't have Caicedo and Reece James out the team with the way they're both playing. And I think that showed in the game.
Yeah, I think their lack of squad depth was on display, to be honest. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm looking at it. I don't know if he rotated the backline like that because of he just wanted to tinker. I don't know. I think it must be an injury because Chalobah, I think, moved to right back, and because of James being out, and then Fofana wasn't in the squad, so I'm assuming he's injured or he's just not available. So then you just kind of have to pick. Those are the only guys left: Badiashile and Tosin. Tosin, I've seen Maresca today in his press conference going in on Tosin. He was asked about the lack of experience on the day. And he said, well, who was the most experienced player on the day? And one of the reporters said, oh, it was Tosin. He goes, did he play well? And he was basically just calling him out for being crap. I think you've got to give credit to Leeds, first of all, because at half-time against City, 2-0 down, they then changed their formation to this 3-5-2. And they very quickly got back in that game against Man City, nearly snatched a draw from 2-0 down. And maybe he's found a winning formula because they played that same formation again in this one. Daniel Farke, before this game, was under big pressure to get a result. And they started like a house on fire. Absolute house on fire. Brilliant header at the near post at the start. Tanaka with an excellent goal as well just before half-time. The energy they were putting in. I was watching that game thinking, no way Leeds can keep this up for 90 minutes because they are all over Chelsea. They're bullying them. They're harassing them. What you associate with Leeds, you know, a tough place to go, putting loads of energy, you're going to get
which they showed at the early stage of season.
Yeah, they did, but I also feel like they were being quite pragmatic at the beginning of the season. They was getting them some points, but I thought they really went after Chelsea. They were fearless in this game. They were pressing them completely. They were attacking them and creating opportunities. They weren't scared in this game. It's like they just went for them. Like they're going to let the shackles off. They're just going to really commit to a really high press. It was like Bielsa ball, it felt a bit. On Wednesday, they just
that is
really
what Daniel Farke usually does, though. That's like the football that he usually plays, isn't it?
Yeah.
Attacking football.
Well, especially in the Championship. But yeah, this season's been a bit of a departure from that, and I feel like he's really gone back to his roots a bit with this formation. And maybe they found a winning formula. What I would say is, second half, Chelsea get a goal back immediately, and I did feel like, okay, this is Chelsea's game, and they were really probing, and it looked like there was a big moment in the game where Palmer comes on. He has an unbelievable chance which he puts wide. If he makes that 2-2, I think Chelsea definitely go on to win the game. He misses it, then a couple minutes later Tosin with an inexplicable error passing it to Sanchez, who gets tackled by one of the Leeds players, and Calvert taps it, and all of a sudden it's gone from what it should have been 2-2, and it's now 3-1 Leeds. And you could see all the energy sapped out of Chelsea at that point, and Leeds just gained that extra 1 or 2% they needed at the time because they were waning a bit, and they got that little bit of energy from that 2-goal cushion returning, and that just led them to the end of the game. And you saw for the last 20 minutes Chelsea were just rushing. They had no composure. They had too much urgency. Sometimes that can happen. They were just So it was like they were playing like as if it was the 90th minute for the last 20 minutes. They were just lumping the ball into the box, and nothing was working for them. And I think maybe a bit of naivety, lack of experience, kind of cost them on the day. But credit to Leeds. I think that change formation from Farke looks like it saved his job, and maybe they've got a winning formula here.
Yeah, for me, it was just too many changes on Chelsea on the day, and they just looked a bit disjointed. And I don't think there was a reason for as many changes as he made. Like, he's got Malagusto on the bench, he's got Reece James on the bench, he's got Cole Palmer. Look, Cole Palmer, fair enough, because he's coming back from injury. Pedro Neto on the bench, Garnacho on the bench. You know what I mean? He's got good players on the bench, which, you know, I thought it was just way too many changes. And why just not play Malagusto at right back? Why play Chalobah at right back? You know what I mean? And why play these two centre-backs that haven't played with each other pretty much all season together? I thought it was just a bit too much.
Yeah. I understand that. I think maybe you can accuse him of it, to be honest. And I think it also goes to show their depth isn't probably as strong as their rivals, and that's probably what I always thought would probably cost them. And as well, obviously, everyone said the centre-backs and the keeper, are they good enough for this kind of title race? And obviously those are the players that made the mistakes in this game. But
What's your opinion on Gittins? Haven't seen much from him as of yet. I thought he started in this game as well. Didn't do much.
Yeah, look, he's a very young winger. So
But they signed him ahead of Madueke.
Yeah.
They replaced him with Madueke. So
I think Madueke's a better player.
yeah, but like if you sign him instead of Madueke was getting fair amount of minutes last season. You expect him to not hit the ground running, but at least by now show something at least.
Yeah, big money, big expectation. Hasn't kind of done it yet. Hasn't
Yeah.
done it, but he's still so young. It's hard to really judge him. But
21 years of age.
yeah, I think he'll probably be good long term, but it's been very frustrating, I think, if you're a Chelsea fan watching it right now. And Delap as well, he's come back from injury, hasn't really shown much at the moment, which has got to be a bit of a worry because he's not really only recognised number 9, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think João Pedro's a proper number 9. I think he's more of a 9.5, 10 kind of player, more of a player behind the striker. That's his best position. So I think they're going to have to rely on Delap. And for me, I think they've made a big mistake letting Owen Jackson. I think they could really do with him right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, like Delap's, they've just got such a young team, don't they? Like Delap's 22, Gittins is like all these players that they've brought in the summer, like 22 max, apart from João Pedro.
And they're very talented, and they can see that with some of the big performances they give. But isn't that just... Yeah, they're not going to be in a title race this season.
This is what I was saying. Like when you asked me last time if Chelsea were in a title race, like I said, yeah, it looks as though right now, but I think it's just way too soon from this season. And I think next season, after the experience of being all together again this season, I think it will do them the world of good. And next year, I think you'll see a very good Chelsea side.
After an hour of the game against Arsenal, they were 3 points behind them, and now they're 9.
Yeah. It's just the way it goes, isn't it? All right, let's move on to Liverpool against Sunderland. More drop points for Liverpool at Anfield, and it finished 1-1. We both went for 2-1 to Liverpool. But Sunderland, once again, with a very decent points picked up in the Premier League. This time they go to Anfield and take a point.
Yeah, brilliant. And I thought they were really good for most of the game, to be honest. I thought for about 70 minutes, they were by far the better team. They just look sharper. Their passing was crisper. They look more dangerous going forward. Liverpool didn't. I think they really struggled to create lots of chances. They struggled to really break down this Sunderland team, and they got the goal. Sunderland fairly. I can't remember when it was, but a long-range effort which was deflected. But they deserved the goal. They were the better team. But to be credit to Liverpool. After going behind, they did really step it up, and I felt they deserved the equaliser, and they did get it because they were really putting pressure on.
That was 70 minutes of football, though.
Yeah, but you still got to respond to the goal.
Yeah, of course.
They did. And look, as I say, I think Sunderland were a better team for large parts of this game, but I thought Liverpool did come into it after going behind, and the pressure they were putting on Sunderland was actually a lot. And obviously, Wirtz wasn't his goal in the end, but was a brilliant piece of play from him to get into the box and jink past a couple of players, and he did shank the shot. He
also missed a big chance as well.
Yeah, he did. When was that? I can't remember that.
He missed like close to an open goal. He should have put that in the back of the net.
I don't remember that moment, but he obviously shanked the shot, which ended up deflecting into the net so it was a good piece of play from him. And Liverpool, I thought they could have won it. You know, Van Dijk had that header that hit Kirkes right at the end, and they were putting lots of pressure, but as much as Liverpool could have won it, Sunderland had that unbelievable chance right at the end where the keeper plays a brilliant through ball to Isidore, one-on-one with Alisson, takes it past him, and Chiesa saves the day with a block on the line. So I think Liverpool have to thank their lucky stars there. They got a point in the end due to that. Sunderland, I think obviously at any point at Anfield is going to be a good point, but they'll probably be feeling, could they have taken all 3?
Yeah, they probably could have done, but this brings the question of Arne Slot, man. Like, this is 3 games at Anfield now, no wins. This is the point that they got. I mean, this might be a step in the right direction because they actually got a point at Anfield this time because they got battered to PSV. They got battered to Nottingham Forest. They held on here against Sunderland.
Didn't lost to United as well not so long ago.
Yeah. So what's the state of play now with Arne Slot? Like, is he on his last legs now?
I mean, I don't know. He's saying now Liverpool's goal is to get top 4. So I think they will give him the time. If the Liverpool hierarchy are okay with, we'll get top 4 this season, maybe try and win a trophy and go again next season and stick with the manager, then I don't think he's in any real danger right now because they are in 2 points off 4th and that situation is recoverable. But if they're if in their mind, if we're not on a title challenge this season, that's unacceptable, and the manager will have to take responsibility for that, then 100% he's definitely on his last legs.
I don't think he has much time left in this job. Like, he's picked up 2 wins since the back end of September, which is crazy that they're even that close to top 4 with that form. Like, that's mad. 2 wins since the back end of September. We're in December now.
I know, it's mad. It's mad that this run of form they're on.
Like, no matter what Liverpool's ambitions are, if it was top 4, if it was to win the league, if it was even like Europa League qualification, that form should never fly with any manager, you know? So, look, they've got... Who do they have this weekend? They've got
Leeds away.
Leeds away. If they lose this game, I think he could be gone.
I don't think they're going to sack him. Because of what? Who? I think... Who are they going to put in his place?
What does it matter when they're losing every game?
Because you allow him the time to turn it around, because he's already shown he can win you a league.
Yeah, I mean, he's shown he can win a league, but look at the talent that he's brought in. It just seems to be a complete mess this season. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't seem to know how to turn it around once it has got bad.
As I'm saying, so I'm saying if they're happy enough to be in a top 4 battle, then you give them that little bit of time to turn it around.
I don't think they're happy to be in a top 4 battle. I think,
So if they're not, then you sack him.
Yeah. I mean, how can they be happy to be in a top 4 battle when your defence of a title is to spend north of 400 million and to be on the form that you're on now?
They shouldn't be happy with that. But but there's been a lot of problems this season. Not to say that, you know, that Slot can't take responsibility for that, but they've won the league obviously unbelievably last season, and for some reason they decided lots of change this summer. You know, 400 million in, Trent goes, and I think the way they're playing, I think needed a lot more change with the players they brought in. I think it was a bit too much in the summer, and Salah's obviously not the same player at the moment as he was last season. He was carrying them a lot with. Like, it was one of the best seasons for at a time that we'd ever seen in the Premier League. He's not that at the moment. He's clearly struggling for form. So they've lost those goals. They've lost Trent's creativity. For large parts, they also didn't have Gravenberch in the team, although he's back now. So they've got a lot of issues which need sorting out. Slot hasn't been able to manage the situation at all this season. It's been an absolute disaster. But if a new manager comes in, is he going to sort out quickly? Is he going to be getting Liverpool rocking and rolling again? Or is it better to stick with the manager who's won the league, who knows the issues, and allow him time to sort it out? And sort him out, try and get to top 4 this season if they can, maybe win a trophy, and then next season you build again and you go again. Either you do that, or you say this form is nowhere near good enough. Maybe go with an interim, or I don't know who you appoint between now and the end of the season, and you go start again next season. I don't know if Liverpool generally do give their managers time, I feel.
Yeah.
The only one they didn't was Roy Hodgson back in 20, however long that was, 2010. That's the only time I can think they haven't given a manager time, so I do think they will.
Yeah, we'll see. Just like how much time can they give? Because like they're just dropping points every week at this point. And look, I get the problems that you're talking about with Trent and Salah and all that, but he spent so much money in the summer. He's got more than enough at his disposal to be getting a lot more out of these players. And he's just not able to do it at this moment in time. But we'll see how it progresses. I genuinely think if they lose to Leeds on the weekend, I think that could be that. But we'll see. We'll see how it progresses. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have all the plans for him.
I don't think they're going to just sack him on a whim.
It's not a whim, though, is it?
It is if you don't have a plan in place.
How do you know they don't have a plan?
What would the plan be? Interim?
I don't know what their plan. I don't know what they're thinking. But surely this form has been going on since the back end of September. You really think this is the first they're thinking of sacking him? I don't think so. I think they must be drawing up plans in the background. I don't think like they're going to let this slide.
I think they will.
All right, we'll see. Costume bet? I'm joking. Manchester United against West Ham finished 1-1. We both went for 2-1 to Manchester United. It very could have easily been 2-1 to Manchester United, really. But finished 1-1 and a poor point for Manchester United, really. They're 1-0 up going into the latter stages of the game, and Magassa, he put in an actually unbelievable display in this game, and he levels it up.
Yeah, United were poor for large parts. They did create a bit, but they were never really impressive. They were losing all their second duels, and I think if they were playing a better team, they would have been opened up a lot more. They couldn't handle Bowen throughout the whole 90 minutes. Bowen was getting lots of joy whenever he was on the ball. They just seemed sluggish. They seemed slow, lacking energy. It was just boring for Man United. And yes, they did take the lead. And to be fair, they probably had control of the game in that second half. But they just allowed it to drift away from them. They allowed West Ham back in the game. They allowed them encouragement, and it was no surprise to anyone when West Ham equalised. And this is what I'm saying about United. I know they beat Palace, but anyone who watched the game, I'm telling you, that was not convincing. They found a couple of moments, but you can't rely on in the moments they did have against Palace. You can't rely on scoring those types of goals every game. They barely create apart from it. The big problem for them, the most worrying thing, is they had one attacking injury in Sesko. And yet they had basically so little attacking options off the bench. It's how are you left in that situation where you've basically just got barely any attacking options? It's mad. And the more worrying thing is in a week's time they're going to be no Mbeumo, no Diallo. So how the hell are they going to manage that with no Sesko as well? How are they going to score a goal? Honestly, I don't know how they're going to score a goal in the next upcoming weeks. Amorim is under serious pressure. They are 8th, and again, they had a chance to go into 5th with a win. But again, they let it slip, and again, it was an unconvincing performance. And that's now 2 home games in a row against Everton at home against 10 men, and a really poor West Ham team where they struggled to really impress and struggled to create chances. And I don't know, this Amorim guy, I don't know how anyone could be saying he's onto a good thing.
Yeah. Look, I did think Man U did create a couple of chances and could have easily won this game, but the performances in general are just not convincing. 1 win in the last 5 Premier League games, 3 draws, drawing way too many games. That's the big worry, isn't it? The AFCON round the corner with their 2 players, and basically I don't know when Sesko's back, but it's basically all going to fall onto the shoulders of Bruno Fernandes, and he's playing in a kind of deep role in the midfield too. So, but
it's mad to think about. Since Amorim has taken over, the run they had, just before, they had 3 wins in a row. They beat Brighton, Liverpool, and Sunderland. That is literally the best run of form he's had.
Yeah,
in over a year.
Yeah,
that's it. That's when you're looking at things to cling on to. There's a 3-game run a few weeks ago, and that is it.
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
When the AFCON hits, the first 2 games that they've got are Villa away and Newcastle at home.
No chance they get anything out. They score a goal. Only those games.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, worrying signs for Man United. But look, the reality is they're only 2 points outside the top 4.
I know, but anyone being realistic can look at the situation and say, I reckon they're going to be... But honestly, I don't know if they beat Wolves next. I really don't know if they beat Wolves next game. And that's how bad it is. I look at Wolves play and I'm like, they can give them a game. I really think they can give them a game.
We'll see on Predict the Prem if you think that or not. But let's move on to the star men. Sim went for Bruno Fernandes. He got 0 goals, 0 assists. I went for Pedro Neto, who didn't start the game but came on at half-time, got that goal soon after. And I thought, you know what, Chelsea were going to come back in this and he could have done more, but it wasn't to be. But I get the 5-pointer at least. And we finish off this week 134 to Sim, 141 to me. I thought the gap would have been closed a bit more because he got 3 5-pointers this week.
3 5-pointers.
But I think Pedro Neto just saved me a little bit.
Bruno had a couple of chances as well, pissed me off. But Bruno and Haaland have been wasted over the last 2 game weeks.
Definitely. But that is it. We'll see you very soon for Predict the Prem, where today that episode will be coming out for the weekend's fixtures. But thank you everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you very soon.